Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday in the Word. And if you were thinking of attending church tonight, I'd like to let you know that we're not going to be having Wednesday night service tonight. We've got some people sick and stuff, so this is all you get. You get to hang out with me this afternoon. And so now I want to take a look at the Songs of Ascent, or the Psalms of Ascent. Psalms 120 through 134 are the Psalms of Ascent. And it really didn't jump out to me, these particular psalms, even though one of them my father made us learn, Psalms 133, about behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It's like oil running down the beard of Aaron. Yeah, my brother and I used to have, when we had disagreements, we'd have to do that psalm, hanging out to each other, and we had to say it till we smiled. So I knew that one, but I didn't totally understand the whole grasp of the whole concept there. And so a couple of years ago, when my wife and I were in Israel, we were coming back from Masada and from the Dead Sea, and we were coming up to Jerusalem. And we're in the van, and the guide said, this is where the Psalms of Ascent. So each year, in the ancient times, the Jewish tribes would make the uphill journey to Jerusalem. 3 different pilgrimages. They'd come for the Passover, they'd come for Pentecost, and then the tabernacle of tents or booths was instructed. So they'd have 3 different times when they would come to Jerusalem for festivals and for a whole variety of things. Pentecost, Jesus would come to these things. And so as we traveled up that way, and I'm sure we had to move a little faster than the pilgrims because they're walking, but they would sing these psalms as they were coming in, and also they would sing them on the temple steps. They were encouraging pilgrims as they're coming toward Jesus, and it talks about the yearning for national independence and the hopeful expectation of spiritual salvation through a Messiah. They didn't understand that was going to be Jesus Christ. And so some were written by David, one was written by Solomon, and some were written by, we don't know the authors, but they were written during the 70-year exile of the Judeans, who were captured by the Babylonians in 586, and they were singing, they're expressing their about their oppression, their longing to return to Judah and for future peace and prosperity in Jerusalem. And so I want to take a look at a few scriptures from a few of these. In Psalms 126, it says, and I'm gonna bounce through some different scriptures. So I'd encourage you to go and read through the whole set of them and think of people returning to Jerusalem. Praying toward Jerusalem, and they're coming in for a feast and for a spiritual revelation, a God encounter. And so in 126 it says, those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. And thought about that. I thought, how many times in our lives we go out into situations and there is great sadness and weeping, but as in our weeping we're calling out to God and going to God, that He brings a turn. They're planting their seed, and maybe they weren't sure they'd have enough food for the coming year, but if you don't plant that seed, you don't get the crop. So they were sowing with weeping, and sometimes we're sowing into the world around us with weeping, with tears, with brokenness to do those things. And then in the Psalms 127 it says, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for He grants sleep to those He loves. Without God, all is vanity. I see people trying to figure out life and dealing with depression and anxiety and fear and trying to get ahead, but except a walk with God, and faith in God, in that relationship, you will come up empty. You will come up empty every time, except the Lord builds the house, whether it's a physical house or your spiritual house and your being. The last one is Psalms 128. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. You know, imagine crowds of people coming up and they're singing worship to the King of Kings. How that made God feel. And at some point, we are all going to be gathered around that throne worshiping him. Perhaps, and Jesus as a child, when his parents took him to the temple, singing those songs, worshiping. And so today, I would just encourage you to read through those Psalms, to worship him, to think about coming into his house. And Sunday, come to his house and worship as a body. There's something about congregational worship that just touches your heart as you watch other people worshiping with their hands up and experiencing the presence of God, changing them. It changes you. So hey, we'll see you on Sunday.